Good day class, welcome sa ating Module 4, Ethics and Human Act. Ito na yung ating last module for this prelim. I hope na-enjoy natin lahat ng ating discussions for this subject. So let us define ethics class. Ethics comes from the Greek word ethos, nang ibig sabihin ay custom, characteristic, or habitual way of doing things or actions that is properly derived from one's character. So, next, referring to the philosophical concept of morality. Endeavors to understand moral concepts and justify moral principles. It analyzes concepts such as right and wrong and seeks to establish principles of right that may serve as guides to action for people to follow. So in other words, ang ethics is a set of standards, a set of principles that we need to follow. So ethics for Filipino students is philosophy of human action that allows them to learn the art of living. It is an art that enables them to be reconciled with their freedom and that which is expected of them by others and themselves. Thus, ethics is a way for them to find happiness. Furthermore, ethics is the philosophical of what is right and wrong, a term we know but not sure how many of us follow it. Diba? So, pag sinabing ethics, nandyan na yung integrity, nandyan na yung honesty, nandyan yung fairness, responsibility, your choice, conscience, the value, the honor. So, nandyan na lahat. So, it is a set of standards or principles. Let us also define human acts. What is a human act? It is an act that is freely chosen. It is a behavior that has been deliberately chosen. So if we say deliberately chosen, it was reasoned by the use of our intellect. So, like for example, before we act on something, okay, we use our intellect. Then we will have that choice. Then we will make a choice. Then that is act of will. Okay? If we say deliberated. It has been chosen based on a judgment of conscience. These acts can be morally evaluated. So that is, or this is human acts. Moreover, a human act is referred to as the human activity of man as man by which he attains an end, or yung tinatawag nating telos. The telos or the end he wants to obtain. That is human act. Okay, it has something to do with our end or purpose or goal or our objective. Again, human acts are those acts of rationality of man because we are a rational being. Pag sinabing rational, we have the ability to think, to reason out, that is being a rational man. Okay? They are the rational acts of human person, which involves understanding and free will. Human act can be morally good or morally evil. So a classic example of human act is Eve's decision to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden. Again, if we say human act kasi it involves understanding and free will. So Eve's, in this scenario, Eve's free will and understanding is involved. Though, ang instruction sa kanila is not to eat Okay, that fruit of the tree of knowledge. But again, na-involve doon yung kanilang free will. Yung free will ni Eve, yung kanyang understanding. Okay, dahil nga naman sila ay na-deceive. Okay, again, we as a human, we have that free will. Okay, either morally good or morally evil yung certain action na ating gagawin. So laging involved yung ating understanding and free will when it comes to human act. Next to human acts is the acts of human. So these are the activities of man as animal, not literally animal class, because these acts are not deliberately done. That is why activities of man as animal, yung sinabi niyan. Kumbaga, we act sometimes na man act sometimes na hindi pinag-iisipan mabuti, nor voluntary. They are performed without the free will of the agent. Kaya sinabing these are the activities of man as animal. Next is the acts of human naman. So these are the activities of man as animal, not literally animal. The act itself, okay, is the animal. So these are not deliberately done. Compared to human acts, it is deliberately done. Acts of human is not deliberately or are not deliberately done, okay, without the use of intellect nor voluntary. They are performed without the free will of the agent. Okay, doon sa scenario ni Eve, for example, no, involved doon yung kanyang free will na pumili kung ano yung kanyang gagawin. But in the acts of human, without the free will of the agent, ikaw na gumawa ng act. So it is performed without your free will as an agent, as a free agent. So we have the examples. As I have said kanina, without the use of intellect, ang acts of human, or whether you like it or not, these acts are being done without your free will. Like beating of the heart, yan, acts done during sleep or dream, sensations by the five sense organs. Human acts versus acts of man. So if we say human acts, again, are actions performed by human knowingly and freely. It is also called intentional or deliberate actions or voluntary. While acts of man, it is involuntary and instinctive and unintentional. Again, human acts versus acts of man, or human acts of man, these are actions beyond our consciousness. Hindi ito dependent doon sa ating intellect and our will. Essential qualities of acts of man, done without knowledge, without consent, involuntary. For example, we have unconscious, involuntary, semi-deliberate, spontaneous actions. Again, acts of man can become human acts when he employs his intellect and will in performing the act. We have three essential qualities of human act. So the first one, quality of a human act, the act must be deliberate or intentional. So the agent here does it consciously. So alam niya, aware siya. He know that he is doing the act and aware of its consequences, good or evil. So yung agent dito, tayo na agent dito na gumawa ng act, alam natin, conscious tayo, aware tayo doon sa consequences ng ating action. Either good man yan or bad yung ginawa natin. Aware tayo. Okay, alam natin. The second quality, the act must be free, sabi dyan. So, the person who is doing the act, ikaw na gumawa nung certain act, must be free from external force. Ibig sabihin, or in other words, you are free from control, you are free from pressure of other people. Okay? Ikaw ay malaya na gumawa ng certain act na yan. Otherwise, the act is not his own. The act must be done out of fear. The last quality, the act must be voluntary. Okay, hindi sa pilitan. The act is done out of the will. Ito ang decision of the agent. Ito ay yung certain act na ginawa mo is yun yung kagustuhan mo. Yun yung will mo. And yun yung decision mo. So the act must be voluntary. Again, it must be free from external control. Next to quality is the classification of human acts. So we have the elicited acts emanate from the will of the agent. So ito ay galing sa mula sa ating kagustuhan. Okay? It is a will act began and completed in the will without bodily involvement. So without bodily involvement, if we say elicited acts, again, emanate from our will, okay, and without bodily involvement. Next to elicited act is commanded acts. So these are body and mind acts done to carry out the elicited act of the subject or the agent. So class, we have here the perfect example of elicited act and commanded act. So Pedro has the will act of going to the court to play basketball. So this is called as elicited act without bodily involvement, according to his will. Then to carry out, he walks to the court with the ball in hand and shoot. So this involves bodily movement. So he walks to the court. So this is commanded act. Next is the 6 kinds of elicited acts. The first one is wish. If we say wish, it is a natural inclination of the will towards an object. The wishing of the will includes objects that are possible, okay, or impossible to be realized by the wishing subject. You are the wishing subject. Okay? So, it might be possible or impossible. Like for example, I wish to become president of the country. Next kind of elicited acts is the intention. This is the will's tendency towards something attainable but not obligatory. However, so for example, so in other words, pumunta ka man or hindi, gawin mo man o hindi, this is not obligatory. Discretion mo na. So example is an invitation to a party. Pwede kang pumunta or pwede kang hindi pumunta. So intentional. Okay? Next is the consent. It is the acceptance of the will to implement the agent's intention. Okay? Example, an invited person consents to go to the party. So, lumalabas siya na obligatory. You need to go or you need to do. Okay? Again, it is the acceptance of the will. Next is election. The agent chooses from among a variety of means what he or she believes to be the most effective to carry out an intention. Example here, if I go to Manila, I select to go by bus instead of the airplane. Yan. What else? Like for example, may pinuntahan ka, malapit lang naman, then you have that motorcycle, for example, or may motor kang single, instead na ginamit mo yan, nagbike ka na lang. Tipid pa sa gasolina. And that is the most effective for you to carry out your intention. Okay, so that is election. So number 5 is use. This is the will's command to make use of the selected means in carrying out the intention. So ayan, halimbawa, pinili mo ng sumakay ng bus papuntang Manila. Then, papuntang Manila, you started to prepare things for the purpose of your trip. Ayan, so that is use. Next is provision. This is the enjoyment of the will as a result of the attainment of the object desired. For example, the invited person enjoyed the party. So again, provision is the enjoyment of the will. Next to that, we have the 3 kinds of commanded acts. Number 1 is internal acts. It refers to the purely mental faculties under the command of the will. So, may kinalaman sa ating pag-iisip. Okay? For example is intentional recall or pag-alala sa mga nakalipas. Next is meditation. Gaya ng ginagawa sa yoga. Diba? Nagkakaroon sila ng meditation or mental exercise. Next is rationalization. For example is analyzation. Nag-a-analyze tayo. Okay? So this is internal acts. Next, we have external acts. So these acts are done by the body as commanded by the will. So, acts of our body. Okay, as commanded by our will. For example, we have talking, walking, running, and hand gestures. At marami pang iba. The third one is mix. These are acts done by physical and mental powers. For example, yung ginagawa ninyo, yung act of studying and chess playing, di ba? So, combine, mix physical and mental. The existence of human act. These are the questions, class. What causes human act to exist? Ano-ano yung mga dahilan ng human act? Then what motivates us to perform those acts? What is in the mind of the agent in doing the act? What is in your mind in doing the act? It says here, a human act cannot be caused to be performed without an object involved. For every act that is done, there is always a corresponding end or a goal, and this end in view that gives the act the reason for its existence. So in other words, class, tayo bilang individual, lahat ng ginagawa natin may dahilan. Lahat ng ginagawa natin ay may kalakip na purpose at resulta. So yun yung nagbibigay ng reason for the existence of our acts. Next is the human act and responsibility. Next is responsibility. What is responsibility? It is the ability to respond to a need or problem in a given situation. The ability to respond is an internal quality of a person which is free and voluntary yet morally obligatory himself. So in other words, class, kumbaga, in a given situation, okay, whether you like it or not, that you know for a fact na yan ay responsibility mo, so you need to act. Ano? Kailangan may gawin ka. Because that is your responsibility. That is your ability to respond is your internal quality. Because you are a free agent. Okay? Sa ayaw at sa gusto, kailangan gawin. Kasi ito ay iyong responsibility. You act out of responsibility. So, it is obligatory. Responding positively in a certain situation would mean that person a growth and fulfillment as a person, while denial to the call would mean retard and self-destruction for him, according to D. Jr. The example here is the EDSA revolution in February 1986. The phenomenal in scope, the so-called People Power Revolution, was nations waged as a great response to the political call of the hour. Another case of a situation, poverty struck thousands of people in India, causing thousands of deaths due to hunger. There was a great call to the situation. A great lover from Eastern Europe by the name Mother Teresa led the response to the situation. So it is our call, it is our responsibility, like Mother Teresa. So nakita niya na kailangan niyang, it is her responsibility. So siya ay tumulong sa India during those times of famine. Okay? So that ends our discussion class for this module, and tapos na din natin lahat ng ating module for this prelim period. So I hope you enjoyed it, and maghanda kayo for a quiz. Okay? Again, thank you and God bless.